All right, the one-man Southern rock band Heath Slater's got a job, baby. But what is next for Heath Slater and Beulah after they get the double wide? Should they stay tag team champions for a while? Should something else happen? We're going to talk about that because I think there's a lot of creative routes. And I'll say this because since the draft, and I've touted this since the draft. I haven't actually touted it because I'm not WWE trying to promote and get something over. Tout. Who remembers tout? But what I was touting was that this is the best storyline going since the draft. It's something people can relate to. Like, okay, you can get a storyline between somebody attacking somebody and saying somebody's better. You know, that's one thing. But something that everyday real Americans and people all over the world can relate to is getting a job and supporting their family. It's one of the most common things you could do, and it absolutely got people behind Heath Slater. One, because of how awesome Heath Slater is, but two, they just did a really good job with the way they went about it. But now that Heath Slater's got a job, do they need to hold the tag team champions or championships, or can they kind of make way? And that's what we're going to talk about because I think there are some very creative ways WWE can move forward. And one of them, if you guys didn't notice the subtlety, was the addition of Rhino, where Heath Slater was facing Rhino for a contract, and he didn't win. He came up short. But Rhino, who is running for office in Detroit, or in Michigan, excuse me, is looking for votes. And what better way than to put in a subtle notoriety thing than to have Rhino fight for Heath Slater and get him a job. It's a great little campaign thing. It's something that a lot of people may have missed. But overall, when I'm with Rhino or our Vote for Rhino shirts are on TV and you've got this man going and help creating a job, I wonder if people are going to buy into it if you live in Detroit, if it's something that people are actually going to believe in or they're going to think it's a little gimmicky. But what I wanted to bring up was because he's running for office and, to try to get some sympathy behind Heath to further the storyline. And don't get me wrong, I want Rhino to wrestle more. I think it would be great. But right now, I do say when I talk about booking that, I kind of stopped doing this. I didn't necessarily stop talking about where I think WWE can go. I just don't get really pissed if WWE doesn't do my idea because chances are they haven't seen this idea. They haven't even thought of this idea. They've had a plan weeks ago unless something last minute came up. But what better way? You have the Usos right now, who the Usos turned heel, which was a very, very welcomed thing. The Usos were stale and boring. They really weren't doing anything. And finally, a little bit of a change, some color, some attitude. They're doing what heels should do. They're poking and prodding the crowd. They're saying stuff. They're, trying to work the injury angles. It's exactly what a heel should do. There's been a lack of heels lately that do actual heel stuff. One of the best examples as of late was Baron Corbin at NXT when he faced Austin Aries. He was shitting on the crowd. He was going after them. He was doing what a heel really should do. And, we haven't really had much of that. But recently in the WWE, since the brand split, there's been a lot of great stuff from WWE. Instead of just losing matches, you have injury angles. You have guys going after body parts. And that's what they really introduced with the Usos, with the fact that American Alpha beat them in 28 seconds. Now, if you are a fast tag team, usually, and I'm using those insider terms again, if you're the good guys, if you're the guys that are trying to overcome, you got to have some struggle and some adversity. What better way than to have won every single match building up to your build, and then when you finally get the opportunity to go on to the finals, a team turns heel on you and takes you out, especially goes after the MCL of Chad Gable. And then once that happens, then every match afterwards, are they going to go after the MCL? You wonder if they're going to try to, create that injury. The same thing with Seth Rollins. The fact that Seth Rollins went out there and kind of injured Finn Balor, they used that, oh man, Seth's dangerous in the ring. He can hurt people. So then you really get somebody going, oh my God, he could actually hurt him. And you're building almost fake hype for what a superstar can do. And for the casual audience, they can buy into it. So the fact that the Usos are heel now presents a great opportunity for the WWE. Now, Heath Slater has got a job, and I've thought about this two different ways. At the pay-per-view, who earned Heath Slater the job? It was Rhino, right? Rhino is the guy that got WWE fans what they wanted. Rhino got WWE fans, Heath Slater, a contract. And tonight on SmackDown, he's going to sign it. Well, the guy that, cost him a contract in the first place, then won him the contract, what more drama and suspense could there be if the Usos go after Rhino, the man that just saved him, and essentially take him out with an injury. They lose the tag team titles, and then now Heath Slater's like, oh, what do I do? He's developed this bond with Rhino, so the segments can still continue. You can have Rhino be a part of it, kind of like when Stone Cold got hurt. You have the whole Kurt Angle thing, remember the cowboy gimmick. You can do a lot of interesting things around that, especially the segments they've had where Rhino is just sitting there eating food, except now he's in a cast. Well, at least we got you a job. And Heath is like, yeah, we got the double wide, but how am I supposed to make money? Because Daniel could come out and say, well, we signed you as a tag team guy, and now you're back by yourself. Or, they could do any different kind of routes like that. But it would be awesome for them, especially with the heel angle of, going through and hurting all the tag teams, right? You look at the division and somebody says, well, the tag teams, there's quite a few of them, but none of them really have that build except for American Alpha. Well, see, that's where the Usos, being the dominant team that's, just hurting everybody. They're just going after the knees, the MCLs, the legs, just like they did to Zack Ryder at Backlash. Then you have American Alpha ultimately come back once Chad Gable's injury heals. You can bring in another tag team right now. So you had the Hype Bros, you had everybody getting some hype. Bring in a tag team. Maybe you bring in somebody that's, I don't want to say indies, but you bring back an old tag team kind of like the Headbangers, and you do something where it kind of stalls out a little bit until American Alpha is healthy and ready to go, because American Alpha doesn't really need to get after the titles right now. And, whether somebody could say it's too early for them to win the titles or it's too late, I'm not going to make that judgment, but I definitely think coming over some adversity, like maybe you have American Alpha talking, they're ready, willing, and Gable, but backstage, he's ready to go. So you get the sympathy for Chad Gable. Chad's like, I want to compete, Jason. I got to compete. And Jason's like, bro, you got to calm down. Just calm down, Chad. We'll get our revenge. And then the injury setbacks backstage, American Alpha is on TV, and you can see him working out, the American Olympia style, kind of like the old ads from back in the day with Hulk Hogan, the whole American gimmick. And you keep American Alpha on TV while the Usos are doing their heel gimmick, and they're doing, everything that they're doing, and, pretty much destroying tag teams. And ultimately, when American Alpha is cleared to come back, that's when we get the spots going over. So you see them going after Rhino with a chair in this match. You see them building that organic, thing for the American Alpha was winning pretty much everything. So you give them some adversity like this. Like, oh man, the MCL is just not healing. We're not going to be able to compete. Maybe they have a match, but the Usos re-injure it right away. And so it puts them out a little bit longer. So the opportunity, like the American Alpha finally wins, and then the attack from the Usos, and then you find out they can't compete. You know what I mean? You put as much as you can on American Alpha without having them actually get in the wrestling ring, while at the same time, kind of like Eva Marie when Alexa Bliss debuted, is you use Eva Marie to help get Becky and Alexa over. Meanwhile, because American Alpha is already over, right? They don't have to be out there every single night. Meanwhile, the Usos are still getting over this heel gimmick. You could kind of build up another face tag team in the background. There's so much you could do utilizing the Usos as a heel right now, a dominant heel tag team in the WWE. So that's why I feel very passionate about this. Like I said, if WWE doesn't do this, I wouldn't, be upset. I am kind of booking this a little bit more than I normally would like to. But to me, oh my gosh, it makes sense. Yeah, Beulah, you're partner, the guy that got you a job. Because at the pay-per-view, Heath was getting dominated, and it was a Rhino spear that had Heath just roll over. So without Rhino, what's Heath going to do? But they could also do a lot of shenanigans as tag team champions where they could hold the belts for a while, and I would be perfectly fine with it. I have no problem if they were to remain tag team champions for a while, but man, if they were to drop it on an injury angle like that, allow more stuff with, Heath Slater and Rhino where they're not a tag team anymore, so that gets them out of the tag team division, but we still get the comedy segments we've come to know and love with Heath Slater. The Usos can be a heel, another face tag team can step up, and ultimately American Alpha will eventually chase the titles and win them from the Usos while they get a little bit of a dominant reign. That's what I would love to see. Like, Heath now is trying to save Rhino after, it was Rhino that got him the job, but ultimately Heath wasn't able to do it. There could be a lot of great stuff to come from this. I would love to know what you guys would think. Like, right here, look, this is the hope spot. You think they're going to win. You think it's over. They're going to retain it. Out of nowhere, boom, Jey Uso takes him down. And I was trying to go for the MCL thing, but it's not in game. So ultimately, guys, I think this would be awesome. This was this is one of the things that makes me want a job as a WWE writer, because it's not just, okay, I want this guy to feud with this guy. No, there's so many ramifications in play that you can help get over everybody. In my scenario, the Usos become the dominant heel team. Rhino and Heath Slater, which are the fan favorites, are on TV debating the job struggle, which Americans can relate to, or people over the world can relate to. Oh, man. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. WWE, please, if you got a job as a writer, I am available.